What's up, YouTube? Back here again with another video, and today I'm going to do my little bit of a wrap-up review and things you need to know for the Emax tinyhawk. Now, I will say straight off the bat that it is a fun drone. It's awesome to fly, but there are some weirdnesses that might lean on your decision whether you want to buy this one or maybe a different one, depending on what you're trying to do and what you're trying to get out of this kind of tiny drone. So we'll get into all that, and I'll also show you my settings, how I have it set up, how I think it's flying pretty well and consistent. Because I'll start off and say, like, their rates as far as for acro are actually set up not bad. If you're flying it in acro, it's pretty good. You can do your flips and stuff. But if you're gonna fly it in angle mode, it's complete trash. And as far as for indoor tight flying, for me, I like to fly in angle mode. It's complete trash. So I'll show you how to set that up so you can get it flying very well in angle mode, and we can go on from there. So I will link, and I'll put a card right up here of my setup video, how you can bind it and get it going. First thing you need to know when you open this guy up is you need to unlock the VTX. Okay, some of the channels will be locked out, and the simple way to do that is you hold this button, that's your VTX button, push that button, plug in your battery, and it should unlock it. Okay, now I have heard reports of sometimes after a power cycle, it's relocking out the channels. For me, that didn't happen, and for another buddy of mine, it worked fine, but I just pushed in the battery, held the button, plugged in the battery, let it go, power cycled, and the channels were unlocked, and they've been unlocked the whole time. So, make sure you do that right off the bat. All right, number two, biggest problem that I've found so far, turtle mode does not work. Now, I was ready to do this video a couple days ago, but I was waiting on Emax to get back to me. Now, when I first started flying it around, it flips over, you put it into flip over crash mode, which it's set up for from the factory. They have that activated. All four of my motors would spin when you would direct it, okay, so you got flip over after crash and you go to turn it over, all four motors would spin. All right, so they did answer me back. They gave me a CLI command to fix that. Okay, so it did fix it, and where two motors would spin in the opposite direction, but it just doesn't have enough power to turn it over. Or whatever the case, like, I guess it's too spread out, and it just doesn't have enough oomph to get it to turn over. It slides if you're on hardwood, and maybe you can hit into something and kind of tilt it over, but for the most part, turtle mode does not work. And for me, on a brushless drone, man, it's killing me, absolutely killing me that it doesn't have turtle mode that works. So when you get it out of the box, it will come with this Emax battery. Now, this battery is perfectly paired for this drone. I get about 3.5 minutes, all right, and that takes us into our next little bit of a con that I found. When the battery gets low on this guy, and I've had this happen on my Dust X. I think it's a kind of a thing that happens with the D8 and these all-in-one D8s, D8 mode for the FR Sky. It starts fail-safe, and it doesn't matter how far away from yourself you are. It's just the voltage, I don't believe, is able to keep up, supplying enough voltage to the receiver part, and it starts fritzing out on you. So once it gets to a certain battery voltage, you get to a certain low voltage, it's going to start fritzing out on you, and you need to take it in and land. So you get about 3.5, 4 minutes depending on how you're flying. Well, really between 3 and 4 minutes depending on how you're flying, how hard you're flying. The other battery option, which you need to stay away from, is this one. Now, I don't know why. I don't know why this is. Now, I tried two different methods. I made a little connector, because the way they do this is with this little tiny connector. Okay, you just have enough to connect that in like this, right off to the side. With these, there's no way. So I made a little jumper. That got me like a minute, minute and a half. Terrible. And you're thinking, right, 550, this is a 450 high volt, 550 high volt, I should at least get that same flight time, right? So I put on just a straight longer connector without all that nonsense in between, and I got about 2.5 minutes, but I got about 2 solid minutes, and that last 30 seconds is a little rough with it fritzing out and all that stuff, and can't figure out why. This battery might be crappy. They might underrate this battery. I don't really know. I mean, they're the same size. If you look at them, I mean, this just has the black cap on it. Other than that, they're pretty much the same size. So whatever the case. Next here, I just got these. These are the RDQ Series 450. It's probably the same battery. This says 70C, this says 80C, 160C. I'm going to venture to say they're very, very similar. All right, I'm getting similar flight times. You know, it works similar to this battery. So if you're going to get this guy, either get the Emax batteries or get these batteries. At this point, these are the best options. The other thing I did was I tore apart a China Hobby Line 450 4S, okay, one of the orange ones, the slim packs, and the internal packs ended up being the same. Now these ended up, you know, they're not too bad. I do try to charge them up to high volt, even though they're not supposed to be. But these are better than this, but still these two are where they're at for me. So there you go for battery options. You're going to have a hard time, and it's going to be fritzing out on you way earlier with these other battery options than this. You go with these guys here. Now, they could have avoided that, because if I pull this one in here, okay, this is the UAV. Did a review of this. Still, currently, this is my favorite indoor drone, and I'll explain that to you in a minute when we get to comparing some stuff here for maybe a buy choice. But they used an SPI, some different thing. It's not quite just S-Bus, D16 or whatever. It's some SPI, FR Sky, SPI, whatever. But it runs D16 mode through my Tyrannus, and it doesn't do any of this stuff. It'll fly until the battery can't, until it browns out, and then it just drops out. So that's what you would want, but there's some cons to this too, but whatever, we'll get into that. So keep in mind, you're going to lose some control at the end of the battery. Kind of a pain in the ass, but you can work around that. Set yourself a timer or bring it in at the right voltage, whatever the case. Segueing into the voltage, the scale for mine was a little off, and when I plug a battery in, it was reading 3.35. It was reading on here 3.5 volts. Or I'm sorry, I'm getting all confused. 4.35. It was reading on here 4.5 volts. So it was reading a little high, and then it was giving me the low battery warnings at like 3.5, and it was like, you know, fritzing out, and you couldn't fly it. So I'll show you the scale numbers that I did to adjust that a little bit and make it a little bit more accurate. Let's see. So far, I've been literally flying the crap out of this guy. Me and my buddies, we kind of got together and did a little fly day. I'll put DVR of that in a separate video. For this video, I don't think DVR is very needed. I've only had one prop fly off. Okay, so this is another con. Props are not readily available. Now, they are a little more, they got more friction, right? Because they're holding on to the entire motor bell. I've had a prop fly off once. I found it, stuck it back on, and it hasn't come off yet. But after a few times of it flicking off, it's going to lose its friction, right? It's going to stretch out and all, just like the tiny whoop props do. After one or two times of them flicking off, they're pretty much done. The friction's gone. But those are easy and readily available to find. These I have not seen yet. I'm sure they're going to come out on the market. But as of now, there is none. So if you flick one off and you lose it, you are SOL at the moment. Now, if any of you guys know of a place to get these yet, please put it in the description. I haven't seen them in the bunch of sites that I shop from, but there you go with that. Let's see. The frame is extremely sturdy. It's pretty light. I've been bouncing and banging this thing literally off of everything, and I haven't broken anything. All these little pieces are still there, and I mean, this thing has been smashed and banged like crazy, so I give them props with that. Alright, so I guess it's pretty much all my cons, really. I mean, that's what you need to know. Now, pros, it's powerful for a 1S. It's the most powerful 1S micro quad I've ever flown. For 1S, it's surprising, right? It's plenty of power for indoor. For me, I have a smaller home. You know, some people might not agree with that, but that's fine, to each their own. But for me, it's got plenty of power for indoor. I'm glad I went with this over than a 2S whoop, because they seem to be a little too powerful for the proximity type of flying that I like to do with these types of drones. It's very well protected. It bounces off the walls very well. You know, you just bang it around, pick it up, and keep on flying. This piece here that holds the camera is pretty sturdy overall. It's got these little tabs, like there's a little piece that sticks up into this piece. It's only knocked loose once, and all the times I've crashed it, I'm pretty impressed with that. So, yeah, I mean, for the price, it's a great flying drone. You have to do some things to kind of get it set up, but that's the hobby, right? Now, if you're in the market for an indoor 1S micro tiny whoop style drone, okay, would I recommend this? Would I recommend an actual tiny whoop? Here is a 65 millimeter 6x615 motor sized whoop, standard tiny whoop, and here is the URUAV. Now, this is going to cost you $100. This is going to cost you $100, but it's going to come with 3 batteries, a charger, some props and stuff. Now, I would recommend you don't even get the batteries because mine were puffed in the box. Just get this guy, bind and fly, and you'll be fine with that. I think it's like 60 or 70 bucks probably on Banggood. I'll try to link it in the description below. And some of these are, you could probably find them in the States now because they're pretty popular. Where would I go for recommendations, okay? If you want something that's US based, it's got better customer support, and most of the vendors are carrying this product, and they're going to carry the batteries, and the stuff's going to be more readily available for this in the long run, I believe, because that's how they are. Emax, they always put out stuff, you know, parts to keep your stuff going, and they answered me back in like 2 days on the Emax USA website, so that's pretty good. It's a nice thing to have that kind of support backing up a product, but past that, I would still recommend this, okay? This is fast enough, all right? This is faster, no doubt, but for indoor tight proximity flying, this is fast enough, and that's more agile, and I'm able to fly it better and smoother versus these and beat these anyway, right? So that's where I'm at with that. Now, this takes standard 31 millimeter prop size, tiny whoop prop size. These are the same. I mean, this is a quad and this is a tri, but you can use them, you can interchange them. They're easy, dirt cheap to buy, and everywhere. It's got these 0603 motors versus this has some sort of custom motor, custom prop design, so you're probably only going to be able to buy stuff from them. These are just a standard, you know, 0603 URUAV branded, but it's probably like a Racer Star or something like that, but it's got the standard tri pattern, and you probably can replace those with pretty much anything. Connectors, it's got the D16 mode, it's got telemetry, it's got the OSD, RSSI in the OSD, and telemetry through your radio. For me, for the price, this is the guy to buy right now, and it does fly off standard tiny whoop batteries. Now, the biggest con with this guy is you're going to get 2 minutes. 2 minutes 15, 2 minutes 20, but I can fly it smoother. It has functioning turtle mode, which is so crazy important, and I just like it better. These are great, but for me, brushless is just the way to go. So there you go. That's my recommendation. Let's pop over to Betaflight. I'll show you my settings, and we will get out of here. All right, so we're here in Betaflight, and 2 things I want to show you because this is pretty much all I switch. Now, modes, they have them spread out across 3 different auxes. If you want to fix that for yourself, I highly recommend changing the modes for yourself, but you don't have to do that. They have it kind of already set up. But the PID tuning, if you want to fly this in angle mode, here's what I recommend, the settings that you select, okay? So a lot of this I changed. The biggest thing is the angle strength and the angle limit. You have to up those because it's really sluggish and hard to fly. The rates I kind of left alone. I took some of the expo out of yaw. I took some of the expo out of the throttle. I took the throttle boost off, which seems to help out a lot. And I think that's pretty much it. Some of the stuff I might not remember, but this is what I suggest you do here, okay? All this stuff. Take the throttle boost off, fix, you know, these few things, and you will be good to go. And then put your settings the way they have their settings on a different profile, so you can switch if you want to change it and try theirs in acro. It does work well in acro, but for me, this is what I like for angle. So there you go.